I was treated as though this guy is coming here, flashing his smile and all of this enthusiasm in the interest of making relationships percolate. Let me just suck every bit of energy and positivity out of this guy that I possibly can. Let me take his ideas. Let me take his brilliance. Let me take any contribution that he can make toward me achieving my goals, and I will get there first.
We can't trust the local community in general that they're going to be able to offer the goods and services. Because so now we have to separate from them to bring the situations that we want. Africans are not going to see us like we see them. As Black Americans, when we come back to Africa, we looking at Africans, oh man, these are our brothers and sisters because we romanticized Africa. These are where our people came from. We don't know y'all, right? So when we come over here as African Americans, we like, man, we tired of the white man. But Africans don't look at us the same way that we want them to look at us.
Because of your privilege.
Hi guys, welcome to Kenganda. My name is Johnny Tamaya and this is the Repat podcast.
Hi Kenganda, my name is Agaba Tumusime, aka Gabs, and happy to be here.
Hi, my name is Tina. Happy to be here for this beautiful female-led podcast by the beautiful Johnny.
Well, thank you.
Brothers, the feminists have taken over Africa.
We're not feminists, just to clarify.
Come get me. I'm in trouble. O'Shea Dick Jackson, Sacramento, California, African American. So, shout out to the African superstar. She's my boo. You know, I talk to her a lot. Gina Ifowe. I think I'm saying it right. That's the name she adopted. So she's living in Accra. She has dual citizenship in the UK and in America. And as we know, Accra, or Ghana in general, is the number one destination for the Black diaspora because of the relationship that Ghana has with, Kwame Nkrumah, and people like that and stuff like that. So W.E.B. Du Bois died in Ghana in the late 1960s. So there are a lot of people going to Ghana, and the superstars are coming to Ghana. Like Chance the Rapper just was there.
Yeah.
So she was telling me about what's happened in the last 2 years. She was saying that a lot of the Black diaspora are, congregating in places like East Legon, and they're forming sort of like economic societies or friendships or partnerships that leave African locals out. And she believes that is a sign of elitism. But while I can see that living in Uganda, although Uganda is not the same as Ghana, I believe that it's not necessarily elitism. Also, it could be, because when you find somebody from America, you feel more comfortable. But I believe that it's something different. But before I get into it, I want to know, is the diaspora forming associations within itself in the Repat communities? Is that, in your opinion, is that a sign of elitism against the local community, or is it something else?
I would say forming societies for the purposes expressly of doing business, I don't find that to lean on the side of elitism. And here's why. I believe that when you come from the U.S.,
yes,
as I did, my story is that I returned to Uganda. I repatriated to Uganda in 2011. Right?
And you are Ugandan.
I'm Ugandan by heritage.
Yes.
American by birth and upbringing. I was born and raised in the United States.
Right.
But Ugandan through and through by blood.
Right.
And I repatriated back to UG in 2011. And my experience was that I found that my values that I had developed as a working member of corporate America were very diametrically opposed to the values that people had here in Uganda, right? And especially in the context of coming here and trying to forge new business relationships for the purpose of entrepreneurship. A lot of what you're taught is, let me lean into showing this person or showing this group of people how I can create value for them, right? And a lot of the time, in the context of doing business in America, you and I don't have to get along. You and I don't have to have a personal relationship, but any loyalty or value that you can attach to me should be based upon a mutual respect that we understand that we're business colleagues.
Right.
We understand that there's a certain ethic and a protocol that needs to be observed when we're both trying to chase this money together.
Right.
What I found here was that I wasn't automatically given the benefit of the doubt when it comes to people demonstrating loyalty toward me. I wasn't given the opportunity to experience people wanting to see me win for mutual benefit. Right? I was treated as though this guy is coming here, flashing his smile and all of this enthusiasm in the interest of making relationships percolate. Let me just suck every bit of energy and positivity out of this guy that I possibly can. Let me take his ideas. Let me take his brilliance. Let me take any contribution that he can make toward me achieving my goals, and I will get there first and not really concern myself with reciprocating the value that we're both alleging that we want to achieve out of this. So when I get back to the conversation around people from the diaspora coming here and doing business and insisting upon isolating themselves into small societies that only do business together, a lot of it probably has to do with the fact that they share values and they share business principles and they share a common responsibility to sacrifice individual gain for the greater good in a lot of the business dealings that they're going to engage in, right? A lot of it has to be, Shay, you and I are going to understand at a baseline that even though we're not boys, even though we didn't go back to our high school days together, I can trust that you and I are going to do what's in our mutual best interest.
Right.
As opposed to me coming into a conversation with a guy who grew up here, right? Who I don't know from Adam, right? Who doesn't have any loyalty to me. And more often than not, me leaning into creating a mutually beneficial business relationship will end up with me getting the short end of the stick.
I couldn't have not said it better myself.
Yeah.
That was well said.
The way you articulated that. We can end the podcast right there and save the entire Uganda right
But
now.
we can't.
Go ahead. It's your turn.
Do you think that the way that you were treated was as a result of you being from the diaspora?
Yes and no. Yes and no. And I'll say this. I'll say it like this: is there's a certain naivete that comes along with entering this environment with your Western developed sensibilities, right? Like I said, we give each other the benefit of the doubt, right? I'm approaching you from a perspective of I'm just going to give you a good faith effort, right? From the beginning, I'm not applying a suspicion. I'm not applying a default toward being wary of your intentions when I come through and I do the business.
Do you not
the way
think that like your ability to do that is rooted in like a privilege in some sense, to where you don't have to worry about that?
It's not necessarily privilege if that's the environment that you come from. If that's what you understand, it's not privilege. Just it's standard operating procedure, right?
But the environment that you come from, but now you're in this environment, so you're privileged to be able to trust people that you do business with in a sense, right? But someone from this environment who has, say, been doing business in a certain way for like 10, 15 years, do they have the privilege to like...
I will flip the script and I'll ask you, how are people here able to feel the privilege of doing corrupt business with impunity?
Because
right? That's a level of privilege that somebody here enjoys, because if I come here and I know that I'm used to working within systems where accountability and governance and all of these measures of high level of ethical behavior matter, and they always prevail and they win. I'm used to ethics prevailing. I'm used to ethics winning.
But do ethics really prevail in the West, or is the corruption there just more subtle?
To a large degree that they do, yes. When we're talking about, and mind you,
as a black man doing business in the West, do ethics prevail?
94% of business that's done here in Uganda is small business, right?
Yes.
So when people who want to do small business come here, right? For you, what you're talking about, the lack of ethics, that prevails in big business.
Right.
And when you're big business, when you're Chevron, or when you're one of these major oil and gas companies, Total Energies, for example, that's coming here, and you're trying to get into the Lake Albert region and start drilling for oil and accruing rights and all of that. Yeah, now that's where the shadiness of big business comes through, right? And you can look at it and accept that, that's how business is done all over the world, right? But if I'm coming through and I'm just giving my effort to trying to build a not simple or humble, I don't want to minimize anybody's ambition here, but if I'm trying to grow a business and do it the right way, and everything that I'm being told tells me that you have to work counter to what you've been taught, yet what you've been taught delivers a measure of success and fulfillment, then a lot of the time what you're going to do is you're going to gravitate toward those same people who have the same principles and values as you, and figure out, can I turn this up situation, this environment that I'm in, can I still hold true to the values that I possess and do business the way that makes me feel fulfilled, makes me feel comfortable.
Before Tina becomes devil's advocate number one on the podcast, because I know she's plotting.
Yeah, I am.
Tina understands everything you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because me and Tina have talked about this.
Shut up.
So let me just say, brother, you've articulated in ways that maybe some of us could have not expressed. But let me just, let me thank you for putting it out in that way. Now, and what's different between you both, because you're from, you've been living in Britain and you were living in the States, but you're here. I'm an African American, so I have no ties to Uganda.
Yeah.
But what is universal or equivalent is we all have the same experience. What happens is that when you come to Africa, like when I first came to 2017 to Uganda, when I got off Entebbe Airport, one of the first things that I attempted to do was like almost kiss the ground. You know what I mean? Because for us as Black Americans, I didn't do it, but I thought about it because many African Americans do that. When they come back to Africa, that's the first thing they do is have some ceremonial experience with the land of Africa. Yep. Because you're here and you're excited, and many people are nice here and great people, which is why I'm still here. But what you figure out is, in respect to what you're saying about those in Ghana, because that's our biggest diaspora in the Black world, in Africa, what you find out is that the people that are congregating together, doing business together or having functions together, it's not based off elitism. Now, if you want to talk about what happened in Liberia, that's elitism in a way, because you have these Afro-Americans that were coming back and some of these Caribbeans coming back and they're taking this land and they've been put in power by outside force. That is elitism. We're not talking about those people. But when you come back here, you would do a business with people here in the economy, let's say those local businesses, and you're glad to give them the business. You're happy to be here. You're happy to empower them. But then when it comes on the delivery of products and services, and Jonita knows this because Jonita was the manager, she knows the frustrations. We can't, and here in Uganda, it's different than Americans. We're going to call you out on the bullshit. Yeah. Ugandans can get scammed and they're going to say nothing. Yeah. But for us, we got smoke. And if you watch my WhatsApp statuses, every day, you businesses here, I'm coming for you. I don't care who you are. If you with me, we're going to let you know who you are. I'm just going to be honest. Really, everybody needs to stop. It's not fair. So with Ghana and the Black Diasporans, they have been getting, and it's not all Ghanaians, but those in the private sector, because you said they can operate with impunity. What does that mean? Without prosecution, basically, right? Without a consequence. And a lot of these people know, because in America, I'm just going to be real. If you scam somebody from St. Louis, 30 minutes later, your brains might be on the street. That's how brothers work. The average brothers in St. Louis, you live in Oakland, D.C., hey, it's coming for you. You owe me $1,000, you won't pay me? I'm going to come get your mama. It don't matter. Like as a rapper in Chicago, somebody went, he said like, F your dead son. Dude went and got him, put him on camera, had him pre for his life. He don't care about going to get arrested. That's how some of us rock. But the diaspora is saying, look, we can't trust the local community in general, that they're going to be able to offer the goods and services. Because so now we have to separate from them to bring the situations that we want. And what's happening all over Africa, wherever the diaspora is coming, you see the Black Americans, Black British, the Caribbean community, they're running in one circle. And the Africans are in another circle. And these includes Africans that have been educated or lived in the West. They're running in the same circles as Black Americans or as Black British. And we can admit it or not, we're here on the same podcast because we run in the same communities. That's why we're here today. I didn't meet you at, let's say the local pork joint. Did I?
No.
We didn't go and get Luwombo together, did we? I saw you on Run the Air. Yeah. And the fly in Africa is expensive. I met you at Casa de Roy. So what's happening now in Africa is that the Black diaspora is becoming on one side and local Africans are on another. And it's not because of elitism, in my honest opinion. It's because one group has more trust. It understands each other more or less.
Yeah.
And we could even be in America. Let's say, for example, I'm going to give it back to you. In America, you might be Ugandan and I might be African American. You might not understand me. You might say, you nigga been here for 400 years. Y'all ain't did. You might have a conversation, but when we come here together, you might look, you have more in common than me than somebody that grew up here. And you see that division in Africa. And the division is coming not because we don't love people but we have more in common to say, okay, Tina can organize this event. I'll invest my money with her because I know she's going to get it done. But this person that was born here, I don't know if they can do it. But I know Sue Achola can do it or Tina can do it because she's from London. And she know my taste.
But that ties into me and Sue's privilege though, right? So the fact that we've been exposed and able to see other things, we have access to certain tools that people here don't have, right? Mm-hmm. Even if it's like a different like way of doing business, again, it's a privilege, right? So the same way we want white people to acknowledge their privilege and the things they can benefit from in our society, I think it's important for like us in the diaspora to also acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And without acknowledging that, it's not fair. It doesn't mean the system here isn't f***ed up. Like, it's very much messed up.
Okay.
100%. I'm not denying that. And I think my dad had a conversation with me like 6 months after I moved here where he was like, listen, you're waiting for things to be the way it is over there. That's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. People are going to cheat you. People are going to say they'll pay you and never pay you because I do social media consulting. So everything is based on what my clients do. Yeah. And people will say I will pay in January and will pay in March. And it used to frustrate me so much. My dad is like, this is not England. Mm-hmm. They're not going to do it at your pace. Mm-hmm. You have to move at this pace and do your other things to where it doesn't affect you. Yeah. So it's also about understanding where you are. You cannot expect Uganda to operate in the way in which the UK does or the States does. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Because the things that you benefit from here, which is the access to becoming whoever and whatever you want to be. I can't speak for the States, but like in the UK, you can't do that. As a black person, there's a limitation on like everything you can do. Mm-hmm. But here, you can come here and you can be anything. Yeah. Right? As long minimal capital and you can be a fucking boss. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, we can't come over here expecting the systems to work different. And we can't come over here expecting the people that have operated in a certain system from birth to suddenly switch up because we're here.
But let me
they
say
don't
this.
care.
Let me say this. And we don't also care either. I'm going to tell you why. Mm-hmm. Because, and I told Brother Agaba flat out my issues. I love people here. But you know, the thing about it is this. If I have 10 million shillings, which is like $2,800, I don't give a damn what privilege I got. Mm-hmm. If I give you 10 million shillings, I'm going to give it to who can do the job. I don't care. I'm just going to be real, honestly. We don't want that. Okay, I have privilege. I acknowledge I have it. All right, I'm still not going to do business with you because you're going to lie.
No, that's fine.
No. I'm not saying that they will lie, but in general.
Yeah, I know,
right.
I get it. Yeah.
So the thing is this, you know, like the diaspora, because let's be real, I've been approached by certain people here. We want you to help bring a diaspora here. But who are they going to do? Where's the transparency, right? And we're going to deal with, in general, and I have Ugandan suppliers or whatever, they're great. But in general, nobody's going to risk their money just because we've acknowledged we have privilege. I don't care about that. I care about, that's $2,000. And that money needs to do what it's supposed to do. And if you can't do it, and if somebody from the diaspora is here can do it, and they're registered as Uganda, I'm doing business with them. And until you catch up to that, because if you're a liar, I'm not going to do business with you. I don't care who you are. But if Tina can deliver the product and service, I'm not going to sit around, well, I understand my privilege. I'm going to be like, look, it is what it is. You want my money? Because one thing I've noticed about being in Africa, businesses will want your money, but they won't do the work. It's different once they get the work. Whereas Brother Agaba, I know he's going to deliver. So that's why you see these things, you know, and we have certain brothers and sisters in Africa that are going to do it. But can you sit there and wait until Africa get it right? No. You can't wait till them get it right. And that's the issue here. And so the division, and then what happens, I see local Africans, well, there's a certain brother that I know. He would say, well, you know, you guys are here. You don't want to give Africans an opportunity. I'm just saying, like, hypothetically. Mm-hmm. But the reality of this is business. This is competition. And if you're not going to compete, forget me. Look at the Chinese that are here. Look at the Indians that are here. Look at the Lebanese here.
We're not going to do that one.
But I'm just saying, in general, you got to be good. Every business has to deliver on what we're talking about. So the diaspora is coming together and delivering the goods and services once they're coming into places. Yeah. And they're going to do a better job.
As long as we're all black, I really don't mind.
To me,
But we're just-
to me, one of the most annoying statements that I have continuously heard over the years.
What is it?
This is Uganda. This is Africa, right? And here's
Hold on. Can you play that? We're gonna replay me saying that too. Hold on. You can find it? Play it. You know, I noticed, especially since I've been here in Uganda, they want the full price. Like when you want to pay for something, they not saying this is Uganda.
He ain't lying.
Oh, sir, yes, you know, I will do this, banana, you know, whatever, right? They're not saying this is Uganda before you pay for some.
Yeah.
When you pay for it, then that's what it is. This is Uganda, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
right? Like I'm a Ugandan, right? I understand, and this goes back to your question of privilege. Of how can you feel so privileged to come to a place where you understand how things are done a certain way and expect them to change for you, right? And I'm going to address that issue by looking at both sides of the coin, right? So if I am an individual who comes to Uganda, right? And I have a certain level of ambition to achieve my business goals. And I know that the way that the system is set up is not built to help me achieve that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how to innovate and create a system of my own.
Yes.
Right?
Give me a round of applause.
Right? And conversely, also at the same time, and this is one of those areas where I think our people are falling short of their mandate. What I'm talking about is indigenous Ugandans who have grown here, lived here, built businesses here, who are now scouting and looking for foreign direct investment or internationally certifiable business partners, credible business partners, right? But they're also not meeting their mandate to say, you know what, as much as we've been doing business here in Uganda a certain way, if I want to attract the type of business partners, right,
Build it up, brother. Preach, brother.
that I think will
Preach.
help me get to my business ambitions and goals, I also need to shift, right? So the Diasporan individuals, right, the Diasporan community that comes to Uganda sees what's going on and removes itself from the status quo by trying to create a different way of working, a different way of being that feels more comfortable for them because it mimics a lot of the culture and business sensibilities that happen where they come from. And conversely, the Ugandan community looks at these people and says, you're trying to separate yourself from us deliberately. And how do you expect to succeed? You're coming here to Uganda, right? To me, that's arrogance, right? Because the same people who are so stubborn and fixed in their ways are the people who are benefiting to the detriment of the nation. Right? The same people who are saying this is Uganda, what you think with your American sensibilities, come here and learn how to do business our way, are the same people who are very happy to be the haves, right? While so many of our people are out here struggling in these streets, right?
He's preaching.
So I think that there's a very clear line that needs to be differentiated between the want to be separate from the masses because it's our preference, or the need to separate ourselves from the masses and how things are done because it's required in order for us to achieve the level of success that we aspire to.
Okay.
He built it up.
Yeah.
You could end the podcast today, right now, and it's done.
Yeah.
He built it up.
Yeah.
With
Before
the terrace
she
at the top
says
and all that
what he
shit.
wants to say, do you think that affects the community in the long run? Like you've come to Uganda to, to be with your people and everything else. You separating yourself from the community, does that affect it? Or does it affect the whole agenda of, I'm coming back to the motherland to build the motherland?
What I would hope is that people who grow businesses here, while they may be associating with the individuals who can help them get that contract signed without having to compromise this, or getting that deal done without having to compromise that, while they're working with those people on that level, they have now a spillover responsibility to train people up and coach people up with that same work ethic who are based here locally, domestically, sourced workers, the employees who they hire, right? The staff who runs their organization, right? You shouldn't now also start bringing in foreign-born individuals, right? What you need to be doing is I know that my business needs to be run on a certain type of ethic, on a certain type of ethos, and this is the culture that I'm going to create. And so let me influence this greater community that I'm becoming a part of by mentoring, coaching, training, teaching. Let me develop a staff of 200 individuals who may have gone down this path, but because I'm here now, they've gone down the other path.
Right.
So I think much as we reject the notion of having to fit into the status quo and we want to be game changers, the reality of it is that the responsibility does lie very squarely with those same individuals to then let that mindset spill over into who we would normally consider the average Ugandan, who they're impacting through, be it employment or whatever programs that they're engaging in with the business that they run.
Let me build on that. Because whether Gaba in this vocabulary, you know what I mean? He went to private school and stuff, so I gotta get my intellectual IQ up. But I'm gonna just say this, to build on what the brother has brilliantly stated. When I first came here, and I remember, when I met Jonita, and then shortly thereafter, Jonita became our manager, and so we became a channel. Now we're a studio, but became a channel. We would meet these people in the market who wanted to share ideas. That's something that's very popular here in Uganda. Let's catch up and share ideas. There's one who says a lot. I'm not going to mention your name today, but depending on how much Hennessy I have next time, who knows? You might be lucky. Okay, but let's meet up and share ideas. And so there was one time in particular that I was here in 2020. It was the last time I saw Kim the Comic alive. So we went to go see a particular individual. I actually canceled a flight to Kenya to meet this person. And when you deal with some of these people here in Africa, let's just make it a continental thing, they know that you're good. They can look at what you do and say that it's good. But they have no real intention on partnering with you. This is my own personal experience. Maybe some of you have found decent people, but they want to impede on your progress in order to divert what you're doing that it benefits them. And then here come the empty promises. Let's talk about them in particular. I know the investment authority. Oops. I'm sorry, did I say that? And then there is look at what I'm saying when I'm talking to you. No investment authority because you lied. They don't exist. Then this same individual will message you 6 months later talking about, hey man, I got this person from London that I want to bring on your channel. So forgetting the fact that you fucking lied, I need you to do something for me. So then what happens is, as somebody like me, what do you say? This is not everybody, but you say, well, you talk to your staff. What happens here? What do they say? Number one, this is Uganda, which is what I always say here on the podcast. And secondarily, you should keep everything in-house. So then that's what I do. So my attitude is this, usually when I'm here. I'm not working with anybody in the private sector, period. I cut it all off, right? It's not that people are all scammers, but just so you don't impede on what I'm doing. Because what I'm doing is more important on what you're doing. And they promise you all kinds of stuff. $100 million deals. I'm looking at your truck right now, and you're dusty. So you don't have no money. You're lying, okay? And so what happens is you start to see the progress that you start to make when you focus in on your own project. Because these people don't care about your project. They care about what they're trying to do to basically impede on what they're doing. And then what the diaspora figures out was like, okay, we love being here. We love the community. We love the restaurants. We love the culture. We love the clubs. We love the weather. But the private sector, we are not dealing with. I don't care how much money you say you have. $100 billion. I want you to keep it. And so what I understand what's happening in Ghana and Ghanaian, the diaspora, we want to come back to deal with our people. But here's the number one thing. Africans are not going to see us like we see them. As Black Americans, when we come back to Africa, we looking at Africans, oh man, these are our brothers and sisters because we romanticized Africa. These are where our people came from. We don't know y'all, right? So when we come over here as African Americans, we like, man, we tired of the white man. But Africans don't look at us the same way that we want them to look at us.
Because of your privilege.
Whatever the case is, we don't care.
I'm sorry.
No, when you go into a town, right? Remember like when you were younger, right? How much it used to cost to go to all the ginger hot spots?
Yeah.
Think about how much it costs now.
It's more expensive.
Because of these. Like, I love you, but on
No, that means white folks.
Set, no, not
Blame the
just
white
you guys,
man.
like, as in general, like tourism in general, right? So
Yeah.
when they get annoyed, it's not just at you specifically, but it's like, I can't even pay for a hotel in my hometown.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to go to Dubai than have a staycation
Oh,
in Kampala.
that is so
Do you know that?
True.
It's cheaper to go to Dubai than have a staycation in Kampala. It doesn't make
It's very
sense. So
true.
of course resentment will be built up when you have access to opportunities that they can never touch. And don't
That's
lie,
true.
your accent opens doors because
You think it opens doors for you? It don't open
I
a
code
goddamn
switch on
thing
a
for me.
regular. When I'm trying to get a border, hello sir, how are you?
Yeah.
If I'm in Cafe Seri, hi, can I have a table? And I know what works for me.
Yeah.
So like just acknowledge that.
Does that work for me?
And
It
of
does.
course it does. And you're African American.
Right.
And in general, Ugandans, I
not
don't
my
know
fault.
about Ghana, but like I grew up around Ghanaians, so I know they're cool people. But like in Uganda, they're so nice to foreigners.
They are.
But we hate each other. For some reason, I don't know.
Like hypocrites. I think.
I'm curious to know. I've caught this a few times, Tina. When you refer to privilege, it's like it's something to be ashamed of, right?
Oh no, it's not something
It's
to be ashamed
the
of, but
fact
it's
that-
something
the
to
fact
be
that somebody
acknowledged.
has been exposed or has seen things or has experienced things or is born of a certain place that was not anything of their own control, right?
Right.
You keep referring to your privilege as though it's something that I need to cower and be ashamed of.
You don't need to cower. You
or be
just need to
embarrassed by.
acknowledge it. So when you're assessing, because I think the original question was like the relations between like Ghanaians and the people from the diaspora, right? The reason they're having a hard time is the presence of the people from the diaspora has skyrocketed original Ghanaians' rent. Like rent now in Accra is mad.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's even
Or Kumasi, like
expensive
it's
to buy
mad.
land.
Do you know what I
It's
mean?
true.
And it's because of the presence of the people from the diaspora.
Yeah.
Go
But
ahead.
essentially, we know that everywhere our issue is like our systems, right? And we
Yeah.
don't have the infrastructure to support the tourism that we're asking for, all of that stuff. But essentially, if us as a people from the diaspora, we can acknowledge that there is a privilege that I have, and I can navigate this country, even as a black woman, in a way that you will not be able to. Someone will see that and be like, "This is my people."
Hold on one second.
Because Ugandans love people in general, but don't come here and say, "I don't know why life is so hard for you," when 85% of Ugandans are living in absolute
Hold on one
poverty.
second. But I want to say this though.
Doesn't make
Ugandans have privilege
Which privilege?
that we don't. Which one? What?
Like,
We can't. Listen, number one. You said what? Say it again.
what?
Number one. Ugandans know Uganda. That's the first thing.
Oh, come on.
Let me just say
'cause
this.
It's such a great, okay.
Okay, that's the
Like
first
Google
thing.
Maps is
An American, let's say for example, some of you have double privilege.
Yeah, of course. I understand that.
Okay,
Knowing
if
my
you wanna
roots
talk about
in a way
that.
that an African American, and I acknowledge
You
that.
you guys can have citizenship.
Of course.
Right?
With ancestry.
Where
We don't have citizenship here.
No,
what
where
I'm saying
you
is,
from?
for
But he
us,
doesn't have ancestry, so he
you
can't like
cannot
locate
do.
the.
Number one, when I came to Uganda in 2017, who do you know? Nobody. I knew your sister, and from your sister, I had to go in because I'm still black. I have to convince everybody to come because Ugandans don't look at you like, okay, you. Number one, you're a black person, but you have an American accent. Number one, it could be fake. So you ain't even really
That is
American.
true because we're the best at faking, and I
Right.
love that for
so
us.
I gotta go everywhere with a USA passport, and they still don't believe that, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing, you cannot do anything in Uganda as an American without a Ugandan. You cannot even go across the street.
But wasn't that just to protect Ugandans? Because it's not just as an American, as a
But
foreigner
in general,
you need to work with the Ugandan. It was a way of empowering Ugandan people to make sure that like we're not left out of the
Included.
business.
No. What I'm saying, there's no way you're gonna be left out anyway because Ugandans are not gonna let. So what I'm saying is, you can't do anything here without a Ugandan at all. Period. So Ugandans can do things. They know how things work. They know how much things cost. They know the landscape. They know everything. You don't know anything. I've been living here for what? Off and on 6 years and don't know. I have to ask you. You know, oh, you're being overcharged to pay for this. But all I'm saying is Ugandans have privilege, and this is Uganda.
But it's not all Ugandans. Again, it's a certain demographic of
portion.
Ugandans.
Any
Yeah.
Ugandan
I
that
don't
knows
think
more
that's
than you don't
privilege
matter
anyway.
because this is one of the few countries here in the world that I've been in. It's only been two places. I lived in Poland, and in Poland you can have a lot of money and can't get a lot of things done, like in the States. In Uganda, you can have all the money and you can't get nothing done. Because Ugandans have the ultimate, and I'm talking about somebody in the private sector. I came here with nothing. So if somebody knows how to build a business in Uganda, it's me. Because I've been through hell or high water doing it. So Ugandans have ultimate privilege over anybody because they are from here. They know people. They know people even to get a work permit. Can the average African American go figure out how to get a work permit?
But even the average Ugandan, it will take about 6 months for them to get a work permit. So again, it's a certain demographic of Ugandans.
And if it takes them 6 months.
The average Ugandan does not have access to all of that. Yeah. It's a certain, and I promise you, it's really small. You know all the faces, they rotate and rotate. And I won't even pretend like I'm not a part of that, but it's about acknowledging where you're at and acknowledging that I can do certain things or have access to certain things or have systems sped up for me because of the reach that I have. But the average Ugandan doesn't have.
So I'm going to do something before we go. I'll concede let's say I'm going to concede that as a victory for you.
Thank you.
Let me concede all that to you. I have ultimate privilege over anybody else.
Not everybody else, white men.
Whoever else. Doesn't matter. I have ultimate privilege. That doesn't do any motherfucking thing for me. Because ultimately, whatever I do, I got to trust somebody. Because a Ugandan person don't care about you. Like, as a black man, I'm going to tell you how I feel. And I'm going to give it back to y'all. When we come here to America, we're looking at our brothers as being not necessarily equal, but similar to us. That's how we looked at South Africans in the 80s. Not equal, but similar. These brothers are being oppressed by the same people oppressing us. But in the encounter, that person ain't looking at, we grew up differently. We ain't the same people, right? We the same... I don't know if West Africans are Bantu or anything like that, but we're the same color, but we don't have the same experience. That person is not looking at me in the same way that I might be looking at them. And that's where the situation. So I have to, first of all, come to that. That's the first thing that's hurting for a black American in Africa. Damn, man, brother Olufemi, he looking at me as a lick. You know what I mean? He posted I bought him some new sandals. Like, what's going on, man? So that's the number one thing. So once you get over that first heartbreak, then it's like, man, I want to support you because you from Africa, bro. Like, I'm really trying to support you. I spent $1,000 for really going hard for African business, bringing them on my channel, for them to do a subpar job. I mean, I'm not trying to, like, negotiate the price. You want 3 million shillings for that? Even Jones, like, oh, shit, like, just give it to them. Listen, we just want to help our brothers out, support our brothers. And then you start to see, like, these people don't look at you as the same, which is okay. So then if that is reciprocated, like, all right, you don't look at me as the same, it's fine. Okay, you from Britain, you from the States, you might even be Ugandan from the States, but you more comfortable with me. You might not even feel comfortable going back home. You like, oh, okay, all right, let's do something. Let's do an event. Even maintain. Same way. He Caribbean, African Americans, Caribbeans butt heads in America, and even in the UK. But here, we on that side. We like, man, we in the same corner, bro. Like, what's going on, bro? Yeah. And you start to see the diaspora doing that all over Africa and Tanzania. Caribbeans, Black Americans, and British, they're over there. There's a reason for that. Ain't nobody gonna care about we got privilege. We looking at, if I got privilege, why am I getting over? That's our experience. Because the way that we look at it, it don't seem like we getting experience. Because how many YouTube videos you said African Americans have to go back to America because it didn't work out?
On the flip side, the same way like African descendants come to the States, right? Black people.
True.
We don't like to acknowledge that, but there is a privilege there, right? Because the system in which was set up to oppress, it was set up to oppress like, African descendants of slaves, right? And yeah, we don't do that a lot, but I think we should acknowledge the advantages that we have, the things that are set up to like, it doesn't even have to be advantages on that scale, but it's like when you go to the States, when you're from Africa, for example, there's a certain hunger you have that someone who's been there their entire life and been systematically like programmed to like believe that they can only achieve a certain thing.
Oh yeah.
It's a different type of hunger. So that's when you have like quote unquote the Nigerians achieving more.
Yes.
Not because they're more excellent, just because the environments in which they were farmed basically are different. It's the same as here. Flip it. So you come here and Ugandans from birth have been programmed to believe that like this is it.
There's no hope.
Everything else has raised in price, but the price of alcohol in this country.
Are you serious?
Right? You have to understand what is systematically being done to Ugandans. So like, as much as I acknowledge that Ugandans, I asked for a Christmas dress in December and they messaged me 2 days ago to respond. Like, that's how lazy it was in a sense. But I can be annoyed, yes, but I also have to understand the systematic issues that are in play to where Uganda is a video game. It's not a real place. Okay? It's genuinely not a real place, and we're just figuring shit out. So I won't shit on my people because I know they are just doing their best in a system that, like, you have like the market people, they'll all send their kids to uni.
Yeah.
But then she's still in the market.
Right.
3 kids have graduated, but you're still in the market. That doesn't make sense. But the system is set up in a way that, like,
I get it.
that's reality. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. I know it's not right. My dad actually taught me this. I appreciate that. He was just like, listen, this country is backward as but you just have to learn how to navigate it in the way in which it exists, because there are also a lot of great things that you can't access here. And I think because Ghana does the whole tourism thing, I love that. But I just think people need to come to Uganda because it's just as lit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Brother Gabo?
I think we all need to look inward at ourselves
Right.
before assigning blame for our failures.
Right. Preach.
And I think what's critical is that we recognize that privilege exists, right?
Yeah.
I think there's also a lack of accountability for those who abuse their privilege.
Right.
So if I'm a diasporan and I enter any country in Uganda or in any country in Africa, East or West, Central, Sub-Saharan, Northern, whatever, if I don't recognize the privilege that I have and understand how to leverage that privilege to my best advantage, I'm abusing my privilege, right? And similarly, if I'm a native of that same country and I see somebody coming in, but I leverage my privilege to the detriment of others, right? I also then have abused my privilege, right? So we all have to be accountable to each other. We all have to be accountable to ourselves and understand, am I going to be that guy who sits on the wrong side of privilege and says, you know what, you figure it out?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or am I going to be that guy who sits on the side of privilege and claims to be a victim of circumstance?
Right.
You know what I mean? Everybody can choose a side of the table to sit on, but at the end of the day, we are all responsible for ourselves. So
Victims of circumstance, because there are legit victims of circumstance.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's anti-black. Yes, it's anti-black to say that there are no victims of circumstance. When you know the whole pull yourself up by the bootstrings, work hard. Yes, it works for some people, but again, for Uganda, it doesn't work here. 85% of people are living in absolute poverty. That's below the 5K a day mark. You see what I mean? You can't even imagine the lives that they lead. Haven't eaten meat for 6 months. And you want to compare your lives?
I've seen the life that they lead. Don't get it twisted. Don't let the smooth taste fool you. I'm very comfortable.
Okay.
I'm very comfortable.
Build it up, brother. Build it up,
to
brother.
humble myself and understand the plight of those who have less than I do.
Yes.
That's not the point that I'm making, is to suggest that there are no true victims of circumstance.
Right.
What I'm saying is that
because there are people that will work hard their whole lives and be nothing.
If O'Shea came to Uganda, right, failed to make it, right, the fertile land of opportunity that Uganda is. If O'Shea came here, found all in all of its many machinations, and failed to make it, that's still on him.
Yeah,
because he did not
privilege.
marshal all of the substance of what's within him, including his privilege.
Of course,
right?
yeah.
But
Right.
similarly,
build it up. Build it up.
Right?
Build it up.
Right? I've seen there are enough
Build it up.
there are enough outliers. I am a product. The life that I have today, I am a product of a man who is an outlier. From this 85% of Ugandans who live in, he was the 85th percenter who lived in abject poverty. Like I am a product of a person who has uplifted himself from the most torrid struggle that any Ugandan has had. They all have their stories, right? Our parents' generation all have those stories, right?
Yes.
So what I'm saying is I refuse to feel sympathy for somebody who can't pull themselves up.
Right.
But
I cannot feel sympathy for somebody who refuses to take on the effort to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and figure shit out as is required. We've talked a lot about privilege. We've talked a lot about having the benefit of this or that circumstance aid you in being able to get how far you've come in life, right? But there are certain people who just seem to have everything in life working against them.
He ain't lying.
Right.
And there are enough examples of people in the world who, despite everything in life working against them, have still managed to overcome, have still managed to succeed beyond the expectations of anybody in their lives. So for me, it's about personal accountability, number one. It's always going to be about that. If you're a failure, that's your fault.
Yes.
Period. Okay. I cannot blame any other man, woman, child. No other human being walking the face of this planet is responsible for my success or failure greater than me. And I think that as long as you're able to remember and recognize self-accountability comes first.
Preach.
However you navigate the rest of the world, to each their own. But that's one thing that needs to be universal.
Can I rebut?
Yes.
So where is the self-accountability when I have a child and I can't afford the 5K for the Kavera, as they say, and I die during child labor? Where is the self-accountability when 19% of the government's budget should go towards hospitals, but only 4% goes, so I get malaria and I die? Where is the self-accountability when I can't buy a grain of maize for myself? Where is that self-accountability? I will not be accountable for systems that have let me down. If this country had the infrastructure, right, to let people be self-accountable, right? So for example, in the UK, I think to an extent there are things in place to make people not let themselves down, right? But recently we heard about the single mom with the 3-year-old and they both died, or the Ugandan lady in Scotland who died with her child in the house because they were freezing, right? Her child survived, I think, but she passed away. I think, one of the two, right? So where is the self-accountability when systems let you down? I will not tell Ugandans to be self-accountable, right? When the people that are supposed to provide the systems in which, listen, if we at least had a chance of staying alive, then we can hold everyone accountable. But what is accountability when I'm likely to die before 30? Because those are the stats of our country in reality right now. I can't be held accountable for years and years of civil war, all the crazy things, which is real that like our parents and their parents went through. But like, how can I be held accountable for a country that's in ruins for that happened when I wasn't alive? How does that make sense? When at once upon a time, our country could sustain everybody, but now I'm born and those systems aren't in place. So now I should be accountable for stuff that some people did in a room that only benefits those people and the people they want it to benefit. But like, on a serious note, do you know what I mean? Like,
it's a good point.
Self-accountable. That's what I mean. Like, it's like when white people tell black people, pull yourselves up by the bootstrings. I'm sorry, sir. How can you tell me when your people gave me the odds that I'm supposed to beat? They placed the odds in your favor, so you can be held accountable, sir. Okay. Why are you in this trailer park? Why aren't you successful?
Okay.
You can be held accountable, but me, who systematically, no matter how hard I try, there are people in this country that send their kids to school. They send their kids to school, but that family will never leave poverty because unfortunately, that's the way it's set up. There are people here that will be born and die poor. And that is the reality of it. So I'm not going to tell them that it's your fault. I'm lucky. And I will continue to say I'm lucky. And with my luck, I will try and like help the people that I can help. I think that's all we can do. But never be like, oh, why didn't you, excuse me?
Well said.
These people are fighting death every day, you know? Like the fact that petrol, it sounds so random, but petrol trucks, right, roam through our country during the day. Do you know that like when they're doing that, like about 500 people can die at once? And it's just a risk. It's just a chance. But that is the country that we live in. We're not even scared of death. That's how desperate that we are. And you want to tell those same people that accountability? There's no such thing as accountability when the system doesn't. Accountability is a privilege, you know. It's genuinely a privilege. I can be held accountable because the systems are in place to make things easy for me. There is no accountability here. People are suffering.
Tina, well said. Oshay, close this up.
It was a great conversation. Again, unlike Tina, I'm only here to put the mirror to you niggas' face because it's always our fault. Even if it's not, if we don't look at it, it's never going to happen. And why I agree with what she's saying, because I'm here in Africa and Ghana and whatever.
And you see that.
Black people have to solve our problems because white folks ain't gonna do it, right? So if you don't do it in the black world, it won't happen. So unless we make it easier in the black private sector and the diasporan circles and Ugandan circles to come together to do these things, because as the diaspora is coming back to Africa, you're going to see these divisions. And we're just putting it out there because nobody else has even talked about it in this great length. But what's happening in Africa now, as the diaspora comes to Africa, you're seeing the divisions of the diasporan Africans on one side and the local Africans on this side, and you'll have some few that are joining this side. And if we don't find a medium, you're just going to see the shifting going to one sort of group, getting a lot of money, and not trickling down back to the other side. So we're having these discussions right now to make sure that we can be able to bring everybody together. That's the whole thing, right? Amen. So I'm just glad for you guys coming here. Brother Agaba was building it up. Sister Tina's building it up. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Tell people where they can find you.
You can follow me at Master Gabs on Instagram or Twitter. And yeah. Holla at your boy.
Okay, and Tina?
Tinagram, Tina tweets, TEENAH.
Okay.
That's the after.
And everyone knows where they can find us, so.
Do not message me.
Don't find him.
I do not like y'all. I'm only going to hold the mirror to your face in the black world. I'm only here for that reason alone. It's all your fault. If you do not believe that, you're going to hate me in the comment section. I'm a cultural critic. I am the best cultural critic in the black world. I'm only here to criticize y'all. Love you.
We'll say it. And yeah, guys, thank you so much. I was under the weather this podcast.
Thank you
guys carried the whole
great.
thing.
No, but you did
You guys
great.
did amazing.
She moderated well, right?
You guys did amazing. So yeah, guys, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel that is Kengana and follow us on all our social media platforms at Kengana Nation. Also subscribe to the Pan African Dating Show if you're looking for love. We'll see you guys next time.